Bless you. Bless you, Jacqueline.
Okay.
That car sounded so loud.
It'll be okay. We just need to make sure that we're talking at this volume.
Welcome back to Let's Laugh About It.
We're in a different loci.
Okay.
Where are we, Zoe?
I just pulled a hair out of my mouth. We're in Arizona. I also feel like every podcast lately we're like different locations.
I know. It's kind of fun though. We usually record like in the afternoon, but it's the morning, so we have like our morning faces and our morning cup of joe.
And my morning, we were partying all weekend and I don't have a voice.
I know, I felt that this morning too. My voice kind of felt like it was gone.
I'm giving like Miley Cyrus a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's just how I feel. Yesterday, like morning, I could not talk.
Yeah.
But, so that's the explanation for if we sound a little bit different or I sound a little different.
Don't come at us too hard.
Yeah, because everyone's coming at us hard always.
I'm kidding. But we were in Scottsdale this weekend. It was really fun. Zoe got us a table.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice. Cool experience.
Very fun. And that's why we were yelling, because it's impossible to talk.
Yeah.
In the club. In the club.
Why
do you say club?
Actually, me saying club is like a joke amongst my cousins and me.
Oh.
Because when we went to Vegas this one time, we went with we went for my uncle's birthday, and we were like, we have to go to the club, and for some reason we were calling it the club, and then if somebody would say the club, like, in the chat, we would be like, club, asterisk. Like you spelled it wrong.
Corrected.
Yeah.
Speaking of coming at us hard, going back to that, there was somebody saying that if we did feet stuff in the YouTube comments, was that for this?
Oh yeah, that was in the YouTube comment.
You guys would do better if you did feet stuff on the podcast.
Which he's probably not wrong.
True.
But we'd be doing better with a crowd I don't think we're interested in attaining.
Yeah, no.
So we'll stick with the crowd we're like trying to attain.
Unless e-commerce feet people are like a thing. So let us know in the comments below if you're an e-commerce foot person.
Leave a comment and we'll do stuff that like you'll like. Just kidding, you know we won't.
Give the people what they want. I'm skipping ahead, but we did ask on the story what people want to see more. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is a good topic because one, it was requested that we talk about the events that are coming up and like what's going on. So we'll make sure that that's like in a segment. But also, we analyzed our videos, like in which ones like did the best, and we talk about news and marketing and everything every podcast, and or the Not So Serious Business podcast, but the ones that have like educational themes have tended to do well.
Yeah.
So taking that like learning, we're going to kind of incorporate more of just like a theme of each podcast. We'll talk about the same types of things, but we have a theme for this podcast too that we'll get to.
Yeah. We're also recording outside for a little bit of spice, so if you hear a car go by, no you didn't. But, we, like, actually have an agenda for today. We've got an outline. So we can, like, low-key kind of jump into it. But before we do, should we take some ginger shots?
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
We got these ginger shots from Pressed, and we diluted them, because when we took them yesterday, I can insert the video. Mm-hmm. We had a hard time. So we diluted them this morning.
And I'm still a little nervous.
Yeah, so cheers.
Cheers.
Ugh. Still pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, but not as bad as yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I don't know what it is about those ones. We take them all the time.
I think it's because it's like actual, like real ground cayenne. I think maybe like the ones we buy at the store, they're more like really juiced.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of ginger shots, how about we talk about the health and wellness stuff?
Yeah.
Health and wellness, we talked about going to the club, but I am at like 114 days sober.
Really exciting.
So exciting. And I woke up the next day, and so I went to the club, but didn't drink, just had a good time. Honestly, I think it's annoying that everything's revolved around drinking because, and I get it, and like people can let loose and it ends up being really fun and whatever, but I'm really embracing how fun it can be without drinking, and like you can still stay up late and you can still dance and you can whatever, but it's so interesting to be sober and watch people watch in the club. Like,
yeah, I actually I wouldn't even say sober curious, but like something about Zoe being sober has made me like, I guess, curious. Like Zoe wasn't in town at this time, but I like went out one night and like didn't drink, and like I still had like a good time. And even last night, me and Zoe went to dinner and she got a mocktail, and I wasn't interested in drinking at all last night. I wasn't gonna have a drink. I was just gonna have water. And then she ordered her mocktail and it like sounded nice, and I was like, you know what, I'll do the same. And I didn't say this last night, but I meant to, like, it felt like I had a drink.
yeah.
So because a lot of the time, I don't mean this in like an alcohol-y sounding way, but I really am the kind of person that I'm like, I don't really want to put alcohol in my body unless my goal for the night is to like get drunk, unless it's like a Saturday night and I'm like out and whatever. But sometimes if I go to dinner on like a Thursday with Brian, I'm like, oh, I want to have like a drink. But I think it's more so, I realized last night, because I just kind of want like something that's not water.
Yeah.
Because I very much enjoyed the mocktails. So
Yeah.
I think the next time I go out to like dinner, I'm just going to get a mocktail.
I loved the mocktail too because it was like a ginger lemonade kind of thing.
Yeah.
Made with real ginger. So it was put into like a really nice like cocktail, or like, yeah, cocktail glass with like huge ice cubes and everything.
Yeah, it
so
felt like a drink.
It felt like a drink, but it was a healthy drink, and I just love that we can like romanticize.
Yeah, and when we talked about the club the next morning, we were talking about, because I don't know if we were talking about, like, we don't know where it's like this, but here you can't pour the drinks yourself at the table. And so the next morning when we were talking about it, it like occurred to me, I was like, actually, yeah, now that I think about it, the whole time we were there, which was 4 hours, normally in a 4-hour span on a Saturday night, I mean, this is probably, a doctor would say this is bad, but I would have more than 2 drinks. And I only got they filled it when we got there, and then I had somebody refill it once. And then I guess I took a shot, because I took the shot out of the drink. But I made Jackie,
I asked her I said, I dare you to drink straight from the bottle.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. And then she got yelled at, because I didn't know the rules.
Yeah, and that's when we found out that you couldn't do that.
I need to look up why or where, but in Chicago, or maybe I just haven't been clubbing recently or paying attention. But
maybe when you've done it, you weren't caught.
Maybe. I'm so used to it just being open.
Yeah.
And, like, the bottles are there. You can pour into your drink. Like,
yeah.
So I know, I think it might be state by state. But Chicago definitely was not like that, or they didn't care about the rules in the clubs that I went to.
Yeah. But yeah, so when we were talking about the next morning, I was like, and I still had, like, such a great time.
Yeah. And then I think now I'm realizing it, because I think it's been enough time. I woke up one day and I was like, holy moly, it's been over 100 days. But I think it's been enough time for me to realize. I don't think I necessarily realized the health part of not drinking. I definitely have felt more clear, less anxiety, all those things. But I think I'm able to maintain my like healthy body, or like a body that I feel more comfortable in, trying with less effort.
Yeah.
Because I'm not working out more. If anything, I might be working out less. I am walking a lot, but I feel so good in my body. Like my abs are abbing, and like my legs feel really great. Like I just feel really healthy and like great in my body.
I think like drinking just adds this like layer onto you that you have to like fight against harder. So then when you're not doing it, you like don't have to. Because I have a Pilates class booked for tonight. I did a core power class the night we got here. I walk over 5 miles a day. I really have to put in like a lot of effort, and I feel like it's because of drinking, honestly.
Drinking really does just set you back.
Yeah.
But we're ready to
that look.
I was like, how could I forget? So Jackie and I and our friends, like whenever we go out, we kind of like always we're just like goofballs. And this was a new bit that we thought of.
Oh.
We've talked about Jackie like being in the Uber and whatever.
Yeah.
Like listen to our last episodes if you want to hear Jackie's like goofiness. But I can't remember where this like came up, but I was like, oh my god,
genius.
So there was 4 of us, and I was like, let's have like 2, let's like split up and have like 2 of us going like kind of like buy some random people, and then 2 of us like walk up to the other people, and the idea was to act like one of us was famous, and of course Jackie's like, let me be the famous one.
I know, I'm so obnoxious and annoying.
But you did so well. So Jackie and Al were standing at the bar talking to this like guy from Australia, Ireland, whatever.
He wasn't even sure where he was from.
Yeah.
But he was from Ireland.
He like grew up in Ireland but was living in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were talking to them, and I went up to Jackie, and it was perfect because I said like, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, and she did so well at pretending to be a fan. It was like so funny. And I was like, sure, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Yeah, and I asked her to take a picture, and then it was kind of like walked away, and it was like dramatized. And then when I walked away, what did the guy say?
He was like, wait, like I need, or well, first of all, when Zoe came up and was like acting like that, he kept looking at me and Al like, because our other friend Al, like before they came up, we had already been talking to this guy for a few minutes, just like being like, oh, where are you from, whatever. So then he sees this happen, so to him, he's like, I was just talking to you, like, you never mentioned any of this, so he's like looking at us like, and then they walk away, and he's like, I need to get a picture with you. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, but I need to get a picture with you. And it was funny.
He said, just in case.
Just in case. And it was funny because he had already asked Al while we were taking the picture, like, why I was famous, and she told him that I'm a YouTuber. But I didn't hear her say that. And then, so then he asked me, why are you famous? Literally right in front of him, I say to Al, what'd you say I do? Because I wanted to have our story straight. She's like, YouTuber. So then I tell him, I'm a YouTuber. And like, I don't know, but he totally believed it. But then the funniest part of the whole thing, in my opinion, later they're like, if you have a special thing going on, like, come up to the stage, you know, like.
It's special thing being birthday.
Birthdays.
They call it like birthday bachelorette.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, pretend it's my birthday. I go up there. I watch this guy notice I'm up there, and immediately he's like.
And up there, so they were like, it was live music, and then they had like all these people up there like dancing and stuff, and so they were like on stage. So Jackie's on stage. Yeah,
and I see him like notice me and take his camera out, like, oh my god, it just was literally the funniest thing ever.
Jackie. And it's like a little bit evil, but it's like
no, it like made his night.
It made.
He doesn't know why it made his night.
He was definitely sending that picture around in group chats, like, oh my god, like, does anyone know who this is? Like, so she kept getting people taking pictures with her.
I'll insert the picture of me and Zoe, because it's like the picture of me and Zoe, like when she thinks that, or even she.
I look like
famous.
A fan.
She looks like a fan, and I look like a scared celebrity.
Wait, so you don't have the picture of you and that guy?
No, because it was on his phone.
No. That's so funny.
I should have like asked him to send it or something.
That's so funny. So that's our new bit.
Yeah, it was a really good one.
So we're gonna be doing that along with Jackie. Also, still did her stepbrother.
Yeah, but that one got weird because he was like, "You should go to church about it." It just was odd.
The Uber, she did her whole bit. And this one you'll have to like listen to last episodes to get context.
Yeah.
But the Uber driver ended up being like, you should go talk to someone at church.
Yeah. Yeah. So it got weird.
Which is true. Maybe you should. Because Jackie's whole thing is she's like getting advice from the Uber driver, and the Uber driver's like, I don't think I'm qualified to give you advice.
Because it is kind of like a crazy story if it was true.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was our weekend.
It was so fun. It was so fun. But yeah, in Scottsdale for work, and we visited some houses. We saved a dog, and that one we probably don't have time to get into. But if you guys want to hear the whole story, we'll use it as our like life update next week or something.
Yeah.
Crazy, but
yeah,
I'm house shopping out here, and the housing market is absolutely insane. So yeah, that's what's happening in the life, and we could get into two things we're going to talk about. Today's theme is actually going to be about delegating, more management type things, but let's talk first about the whole Waymo thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Insane.
In Arizona, I think maybe it's only Phoenix, Scottsdale area, but they have the Waymo cars, so they're the self-driving cars made by Jaguar. How do you say it, Jaguar or Jaguar? How do you say it?
It's definitely Jaguar.
Jaguar.
But people say Jaguar. But it's definitely Jaguar.
I like go back and forth because I hear both.
Yeah.
So Jaguar came out with self-driving cars, no driver in them. Literally, you order it on the app, and we took screenshots. So we ended up taking one last night so we can like experience it, because we've been seeing them drive around all over the city, and there's not just like one here and there, like everywhere. I wonder how many there are, but everywhere.
And I think what's even funnier about them, or like more, I don't know, like shocking when you see it, is like, so there's, it's obviously self-driving, and there's like literally not a driver there. And it's like they just leave that seat like empty, and when you're driving, like you see the wheel turn. I think that's what makes it, I don't know, I almost like if that area was blocked off, I wouldn't think it was as crazy, but since you can just like see it empty the whole ride, or like when you drive by and stuff, I think that's what makes it just like, whoa.
So you unlock it.
Oh, there we go. That makes sense, because why would you like be able to just get it?
Oh, there's a water back there.
Good evening, Zoe.
Hi.
Good evening.
Cool.
Okay, so I just said start ride.
Cool.
Hello, I'm Waymo.
Oh my god, this is scary,
Kind
kinda.
of. Minute to cover a few riding tips.
It didn't.
This experience may feel futuristic, but the need to buckle up is the same as always. So keep your seatbelt
It's
fastened, please.
just turning and everything.
If you're traveling with
The seatbelt's stuck in the door.
It's getting mad. Oh really?
Yeah. Also, I don't know if it's everyone or just we ended up taking two, one to dinner, one back. And the second one I sat in the front seat, and I realized that the seatbelt's on in the driver's seat. So I don't know if that was like a joke on just that seat, but like it felt like a ghost was driving the car.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking up how many Waymos are in.
But yeah, we videotaped our experience, so we'll insert all of that in, like, when I'm editing this, I'll insert it when it makes sense as we talk. But, it was cool. Like, it was actually kind of what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And it oddly felt safe. They can't go on highways. I think that I would feel less safe if I was on a highway, because highways are just, like, so unpredictable. I mean, I guess, like, regular roads are, too. But highways are just more unpredictable in a scarier way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm impressed with the Waymos being able to even just like navigate through like these streets, because we saw them driving. Remember, so like our Uber driver got stuck because there was like a cop pulled over this car, but it was like in the most inconvenient spot, and cars were having to like go around it.
Yeah.
And there was Waymos like navigating through that.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get in, so you order it on the app. It comes just like an Uber. So there's like things that I think could be better as far as like you don't get to pick, like it took 12 minutes for a car to get to us, which depending on where you're at, that might feel normal. But in a city, usually it's like when I ordered an Uber, it was here in 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's not like, I think there's just lots more Ubers like waiting around, where the Waymos, it seems like they're just like booked back to back to back.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Because both times we ordered it, it was waiting to drop off another rider.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy. But they probably do it, it could probably be so efficient, because they probably only have as many as they need on the street, and then when they need more, they probably deploy more.
Yeah.
And they have like the locations of all of the things, and like they can change the ones around.
Yeah.
Like it could probably be super like very efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like we were even talking, like it's kind of nice to just like get in it and like, and this isn't like a slight to Uber or Lyft drivers or anything, but it's kind of nice to just like get in and like Zoe said this, and I was like, that actually could be so helpful if you're like going somewhere and it's like a 45-minute ride. Like you could just like be in the back seat, not worried about like seeming rude because you're not talking to your Uber, and like if you have to get some work done, you can like sit in the back, work for 45 minutes, not worry about anything. Like it just seems, I feel like it seems really efficient for like, I don't know, almost like workday travel.
No, I would love if that was my everyday car. Like I would honestly, I could see a world where
Everyone's in those.
that's their car that they own.
I was thinking about that when we were in it.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about how many things you don't do because... Or, like, for example, today, I'm about to drive for, like, 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things I could do on my computer, like, for like, IA and stuff. Like, I have an onboarding thing to do today. And I could do that during my ride if I had a self-driving car.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see a world where it's our everyday cars, or our everyday cars have that feature.
Yeah.
And you don't have to drive them.
Even though we know how I feel about technology, it's scaring me a little.
But I almost think it's probably safer than people driving.
Yeah, because nowadays people are, like, literally on their laptops while driving.
Yeah.
I've peeked into sometimes I'll be driving. I actually noticed something about San Diego that I notice is probably just because, not to, like, stereotype California, but I'm going to. I think everyone's just obsessed with their phones and social media and shit. And there have been so many times in California where I'm driving, and, like, I notice it there more than when I drive in Chicago, where, like, I'll notice somebody's driving a little crazy, and then once I get next to them, I've seen people, like, on their giant phones or, like, their laptop or whatever, and I'm like, you're driving a car.
No, and
you're
I
driving
think
crazy.
Every time, I actually said this on the phone just the other day, I was, like, looking in just every car I passed, every single person is on their phone.
Yeah.
Every single person you look and they're looking at their phone.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it sometimes. Like, I'll check it. I won't do anything crazy, but I'll if somebody texts me, I'll check it, and I will probably answer back something quick.
It does pose a concern because, you know, where we've talked about this in the past too, of, like, technology's going to take over everyone's jobs and everything, and it's like give and take. You can think what you want about it, but that really is a direct reflection of this car is doing a job that is you use almost daily, or a lot of people are using daily for, like, Ubers and Lyfts and everything, and it's doing the job really well and probably more efficient, and people are really enjoying it, and it's really safe. And so my idea for Waymo, if you're listening to this, would also the Waymos are recording, so I can talk about that after. But I think it would be really, really a cool idea if, and maybe they're doing something like this and I didn't see it when we were looking it up, but I think that Waymo should make an effort to, like, hire Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, or, like, even taxi drivers. Actually, that's where they should start. They should go backwards and fix taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers are still forgotten about.
Yeah, they still need help, and so I think they should hire taxi drivers to do whatever, because there's going to be a lot of jobs that to maintain the cars, to make sure. I'm sure there's people, like, watching the recordings live, and so that's just, like, what I think should, to be able to, like, without backlash or help with that backlash of, like, you're taking people's jobs, they should hire people whose jobs
I was gonna say, I wish I knew somebody who does. Sorry guys, the screen's going back. Who does Uber or, like, Lyft, like, full time? Because I would like to hear their, like, perspective, like, if they're spooked about it, if they're not that worried because, like, it's only in a few cities and. Bless you. And I do think that there's always going to be people who are, like, a skeptic about a self-driving car. So I don't think, like, Uber and Lyft have, like, a huge urgency under them, but they probably will at some point. But I would just be curious to see what, like, somebody who does Uber or Lyft full-time, how they feel about it. Because I would imagine that if that's, I mean, even with, like, it kind of spooks attorneys, like, all this chat GPT stuff and whatever. I mean, you'll never be able to make a robot an attorney because there's too much nuance that goes into, like, law. You would need that. But I don't know. It is like a whole like, we could have a whole podcast about the conversation of, like, robots taking over people's jobs, because it really is, like, so it is crazy.
Yeah. And when we were driving in the car, someone, like, beeped at us next to us, and I rolled down the window. And this was actually a flaw. So the seatbelt that I had was, like, stuck in the door. So I had to, like, stretch it, you know, like, I couldn't open. I'm sure I could have you can tell the car to pull over, and there's a screen in the front and a screen in the back that you can like press buttons to tell it like what to do, pick music, all that. So I'm sure I could have like told it to pull over, and then it could unlock the doors, and I could like fix the seatbelt. But while you're driving, like I don't know, if you're in a regular car and your seatbelt's stuck, even if it's like at a red light, you open the door, take your seatbelt out, and whatever. But my seatbelt was like stuck in the door, and so I rolled down the window, and I was talking to this guy, and I was like trying to go forward to talk to him, but I was like so stuck because my seatbelt was stuck, and so
I didn't even notice that you were like stuck from that.
I was like, so I did feel like I was like, oh my god, I'm in a self-driving car and I'm being fucking suffocated by the seatbelt. But the guy was like, he rolled down the window, and I don't know if you could you hear it?
Yeah, and he said I would never do that.
Yeah, so maybe you can hear it in the recording because we were recording it while it happened. And
So you don't have a seatbelt?
no, I do, but it's stuck in the door part way, so I just like had to stretch it.
And thank you for riding with
Okay,
us.
so what do we think so far?
I actually really like how it greeted us, and I actually like don't even realize there's not really a driver.
Yeah, and honestly, it's driving better than like, I get nervous when it switches lanes because it just feels like,
Is it gonna know what's going on at this red light thing?
Yeah, like, this is actually really wild.
Oh, and it's looking at us. Oh,
Is it?
look, there's a camera here.
I want to know what the team is like. Like, are there like humans watching the rides?
There has
Right?
to be.
Just like keeping tabs on it?
Yeah, look. It's recording. Hey. I wanna.
Oh, there's a play music, pull over, support button.
What do you want to listen to?
I don't know. Newly released.
You could charge your phone too.
Oh,
That's
cool.
nice.
Support. That's interesting. I was gonna say, like, is there a way you could like call support?
iHeartRadio.
So weird. Oh, and you can press pull over.
This is insane.
This is insane. This is wild.
I also really liked the music when we got in. It was like this like calming like.
Was it?
Yeah, and it said,
I think I was
"Welcome,
over
Zoe."
Oh yeah. See, like it just turned yellow really unexpectedly and it stopped. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, and it wasn't super like abrupt either.
No. We need to look into this. I want to know like what the what was I just gonna say? I want to know like how they go about like the charging and stuff. Does it just bring itself back to a charging station?
Is it? Did we confirm these are electric?
Yeah.
Look at the cars. Hi. There's no one driving. I don't know yet. No. He said, so there's no one driving them?
Are you comfortable with that?
I don't know yet. I was like, I don't know yet.
He's like, have you done that before? We were like,
Almost there. Don't forget your belongings.
He's like, you're
For your
just like
safety,
cool with that.
the doors will remain locked when we arrive.
Yeah.
Hold the handle twice to exit.
It feels kind of safe though.
The second opens the
Waymo. It's called Waymo. We'll try, I guess. It's not really up to us. That's so funny.
that is so funny. Wait, this will be so cute in the podcast. I'm dead.
And we should get paid. Hey, Waymo, pay us for
Yeah.
that next ride.
We'll connect.
Yeah. Email me at Zoe at. Oh, it's gonna be hard. No. You're smart enough to drive yourself. You can.
Yeah.
Email me at Zoe ZOE at inevitableagency.co.
Co, not com.
Yes, people get that confused, but you're a smart car. You can figure it out.
And CC Jackie.
At
Inevitable.
inevitableagency.co.
And we'll get things sorted out for this brand deal. This is so crazy.
It is like I think, so this I feel a little bit better about. I think, like, do these go on the highway? I think
don't
that
know.
would scare me.
Also, there's water in here, and I wonder if it was left by the last person or if this is like
It's taking kind of a wide turn right now. Oh no, it's because it's dropping us off.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Here. Please make sure it's clear before exiting.
You got it. You got it, lady.
That is
I'm
wild.
gonna fix the seatbelt for you too, Waymo. There we go.
Okay.
Bye, Waymo. Thanks
Bye,
for that.
Waymo.
5 stars.
That is so crazy.
That's nuts.
That is nuts. So what do you think?
It's just so futuristic.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think if you're in a town with Waymos, you would use it, like,
yeah,
instead
actually,
of Uber?
I wish I could use it.
We should have
every
done
day.
this with the girls.
I would just work in the back seat and
That is
do
wild.
it. Bye, Waymo.
And the guy was like, no, so no one's driving that car. I'm like, no, you can see no one's driving this car. And he's
Yeah.
like, what, aren't you scared? Like, and
Yeah.
we'll play the recording back, but it was so interesting for people to be like, and then they asked for, they were like, what's the app called? And so
Yeah.
we told them, and then we were like, looking up at the recording on the top, talking to it. Like, you can email Zoe at nevilleagency.co and to work out this partnership. that
Yeah,
we
like
just
we'll
opened.
connect with for this deal. So funny.
So next, so that was our little Waymo thing.
Yeah, we just had to add that in. We
Oh.
did a little experiment last night.
When it dropped us off, though, we were not very happy with it.
No, we weren't. Because, and to be fair, the address we put in is like, it is where it dropped us off. But like with anything, like
Kind
this,
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it'll find a place to pull over.
Mhm.
So like the place that it found to pull over was like a little bit away. But like, same thing how I just said, like with law, there's like nuance. With like even dropping somebody off, there's nuance. Like for example, this is like a big complex. So even though the address is like a certain address, you need direction past that address to know where to drop us off because we're in a specific building.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a self-driving car, there's nobody driving the car to tell that to. So when it dropped us off like 2 blocks away, we had to just be like,
We were like, Wayme.
we're in
Wayme,
heels.
We're in heels. How are you? You're going to expect us to
Yeah.
drive. And this one was a good example because, yeah, like it dropped us off on like a really busy street.
Yeah.
And we had to like, we were in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And we had to cross the busy street, walk around the block. So we walked like 2 blocks, probably even more.
Yeah.
When we paid $15 for this Uber, we were
Yeah.
like, we might as well have just walked for the freaking restaurant.
Yeah.
Or for this Waymo. So, but it still is like highly impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was cool. And I would like do it again.
And I did truly rate it. So it's the same thing, like rate your ride after. On the way there, I rated it 5. Also, I think that's just like something they'll have to work out, or maybe they can't, because I would have liked to be dropped off right in front of the restaurant too.
Yeah.
When it actually dropped us off at like a little bit.
Yeah, it's
farther.
like these weird sort of like checkpoints that they'll like allow, sort of.
And you know where you're getting dropped off, so you know going into it. But
Yeah.
it didn't drop us off right in front of the restaurant, so we had to walk there.
Yeah.
I did truly rate it, like the ride home that we had to walk really
Uh-huh.
far. I gave it a 2-star rating because I was like, it didn't drop us off like really where we wanted it to.
Yeah.
So,
But as they figure out those bugs, I do think it could be like really big because you look kind of crazy in it though. It's got all these weird contraptions all over it. Like you look like you're in a clown car.
yeah. Also, I'm sure. So this is kind of going into our theme of the podcast, which is like management and delegation and all that. But when someone rates the ride, I'm sure that like they probably review the 1-star, 2-star ratings, but they could probably go through and see like, okay, this person rated it 2 stars. Let's go look at the recordings of like why,
Yeah.
like, and so I'm sure I rated it 2 stars, and then like if they have it efficient, this is the way I would do it. I would go and watch that ride because it's recording the entire time you're riding, and see like what were they saying in the car,
Yeah.
like what made them upset, like how.
Because before we got out, we were like, this isn't where we wanted to go, Waymo. So they would know exactly why we didn't like it.
And then we were also like, we're in heels. Yeah, so like, I'm sure that they could go and be like, oh man, like it didn't drop them off, and they could like analyze like and use that to improve.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the next topic is management and delegation, and some themes that I've been like learning more that I've realized that I've done kind of well in my positions in the past, but starting a new job or starting a new client, you observe and realize that things like aren't as efficient, and this is with like any clients where management, and I also think that I was blessed to get like real management training at GNC.
Yeah.
Where in D2C and e-commerce, you kind of move up in titles with like you become a manager, but you don't do like leadership training.
And there's such a difference between a leader and a manager, I think.
Yeah. And I think the best managers are leaders, not just a title.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I'm realizing when I'm looking at different clients, or I'm looking at different just people in their roles in e-commerce and D2C, where things just are a good manager is managing the people, right?
Yeah.
And but I see a lot of times managers are doing so many tasks, but they have like a team, and they're not empowering their team to go tell things to their manager, or you're not like at GNC I give it so much like hate sometimes, but like they truly had it figured out as far as like you're doing the associates are doing the job and then reporting back up to the managers any problems or anything that like came up or whatever, and then when to become a manager they put you through management training of like literally how to be a leader, and like while you're doing it you're like, oh no shit, like I'm telling people what to do, or like I'm not like I'm telling people I'm rewarding their good behavior and not just talking about their bad behavior.
Yeah.
And it seemed like common sense to me while I'm doing it, but when you're in a role where you like those things aren't pointed out to you, it's hard to like remember to do those things or think a big picture.
Yeah, even like right now at my like 9 to 5, they're trying to find a new manager for the department that like I used to manage, and they're having like such a hard time because there is such a difference in like you can like know everything for like that role, like in terms of like the analytical part of like how to do that job, but like finding an actual manager for a role is so hard if you want it to be somebody that like has good like team morale and like actually gets like, I think a huge part of being a manager is like getting the people that are working under you to like want to work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that actually is exactly what I was going to say. I have a couple different tips for people. One is that team morale, being able to give constructive criticism without ruining people's days.
Yeah.
So,
and I think a lot of managers do not know how to give like constructive criticism without ruining somebody's day.
Yeah. So to do that, it's really hard too, because you understand people care about their job and like you don't want to be negative all the time, and this is what we do with, and honestly a lot of it, and we've seen this, and it's a really big area for opportunity in this space of customer experience, because that's people's like first job where they outsource. And unfortunately when you're outsourcing, it seems that like a lot of these like overseas employees don't have as much training, and so it becomes up to you or your managers to do the training. And so I've been listening to a lot of like and reading a lot of tickets and just observing a lot, and I've realized that this is a tactic that I use that I'm able to teach to other people. But you start with something, you do like a sandwich. You start with something that they did really, really well. Then you say, this is what I would have done better, and not in a way where like you're yelling at them. You say like, this is, and also provide an answer of like exactly what you would have said, not just like you could have done this better.
Yeah.
So like let's say like, okay, you did a really good job talking to that customer, and being like your rapport was really nice. You asked them how their day was, but then when they were confused, you blatantly told them they were wrong, and that doesn't feel good to be told wrong. So this is what I would have said instead. And then you put that in the middle, and then at the end you say, and it was really great how you wrapped up that call and like made sure that they needed anything else. Like using that format of positive, constructive criticism, positive is such a good way to empower your people, because first of all, no one likes to be told what to do.
Yeah, no.
Even if they know that that's what their job is, like they're gonna have to be told what to do. So people don't like it. So like, be able to do that without making people feel like you're demeaning. And that also goes back to the fact of like empowering your people. I also have been seeing a theme of managers doing too much as far as like doing too much as far as like not leaning on their people to do more.
Yeah.
For example, let's say like you have a team leads, or like even just your associates who are doing the work. I think it's really, really powerful to let them lead meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times managers are going over like agendas and everything, and they've got their talking points or whatever. But I've seen it really, really helpful for managers to give people responsibility and agendas. Like and that doesn't even necessarily mean the associates have to do more work, because they're just talking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're leading a meeting and you've got your agenda, ask some of your associates to talk on some of the points of your agenda, because they know what's going on, and then let them lead and like empower them to talk and all those things, because you can still you should be able to trust your employees enough to be able to be like, okay, we're gonna talk about let's talk about the marketing schedule, and like, Allison, you know what's going on. Like, do you mind filling everyone in about the marketing schedule?
Yeah.
And having them be empowered to like be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I can like I can lead this part of the meeting, and then you as a manager can sit back and listen, and then if they miss anything, you can add that into
add it in.
It also sets people up for success for building them up, and like you being able to see like, can this person lead a meeting?
And like, they need the practice, so you have to throw them into it at some point.
Yeah. And it keeps people engaged too. It's so boring to go to a meeting and like just be like listening to one person talk the entire time.
Yeah.
And whatever.
With the meetings thing, a lot of the time, like when I was managing, I've like managed a docket department for like years. I'm kind of like out of managing it so much now, just because I'm like on the track of becoming an attorney. But with meetings, I would always be like, say we were doing a meeting on like one topic, I would like reach out to the person that I managed that like worked on that like section of like, you know, the department the most, and I would be like, when we get on this meeting, like I'll intro it in, but then I'm gonna like turn my mic off and like you could just take it over. Like I would just like say that from the get-go, and then it would just be like, okay, I guess like that person would be like, I guess I'm just taking the meeting. And like, when you kind of just like do it like that, I mean, obviously within reason, don't give people tasks that you've never prepared them for, because then that's also like, I think, bad management, because then you send people into like a tizzy, and then they're stressed out. Like, obviously give them the tools to do what you're going to throw them into. But I always found that worked really well, because then people would just be like, oh, I guess I'm just like leading this. And then I would always be like, I'm just going to like sit back. I'm going to like do other work while you're like talking, but like plug me in if you need me. And I always felt like that helped, because I also feel like sometimes if you're managing people and you're like, you're going to lead this meeting and I'll be there watching you, like that's stressful for them too. They're like, okay, I'm like being watched while I try and like explain this to the group. I don't know what my point really was with that.
No, you were talking about like how to empower, you know.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to say, while you were talking, this came to mind, for like critiquing and like letting people know they made a mistake. I always would, because I learned this when I was managed, when I was first out of college. This was something I hated about my first manager. it was like a situation sort of like, you know, you kind of feel like when this person above you is like giving you these critiques and they do it in like a mean way, I would always personally think like, why are you being so mean about this? You were like in my position once and didn't know what you were doing and like had to figure it out. And like, was your manager mean to you about it? And that's why you're being mean to me about it. So something I would always do once I was in a management position is whenever I would bring like a mistake to somebody, I always made sure to be like, I totally see your thought process and why you did it like this, because when I was in your position, I was confused about this too. So like, let me break down like why, like, I could tell you were thinking about what you were doing, but you just like landed on the wrong outcome. But like, I totally see how you got there.
I hear you do that.
Yeah.
And it is it's a good like vulnerability.
They respond so well to it when you do that. Yeah.
I think that's also being in the weeds, and I don't know if your managers were like in like truly in your position or not, or maybe like didn't.
Yeah.
Because that is part of it, is like, it's hard to manage if you haven't been in the weeds, because when in your position, like exactly how you put it, like if you've been in their position and you know that you did make those mistakes, I used to make mistakes where it's like, and actually shout out to Gorgeous again, this was before Gorgeous was like, I used Gorgeous, and I would make mistakes all the time where I would have like a Shopify order up from the previous customer that I was dealing with and be doing too many things at once, and then realize like I was supposed to give a refund to this customer, but I gave the refund to the one that I had open. So that's like a huge mistake, because like when you refunded the wrong per customer, so you can't just like, you can't charge them again. And then 2 weeks later, the customer you were supposed to refund reaches out and they're like, you never refunded me.
That just like occurred to me, because it doesn't happen super often, but there has been a few times where I've been on a call, I requested a refund, they're like, we're processing that right now, you'll see it and whatever, and then I'll call back like 2 weeks later and be like, hey, I actually never noticed that refund. So now I'm like, is that what happened?
It could. There's so many things, but like, as someone who used to answer tickets and be in customer service, like I did that, and I would say I'm like an intelligent person, and like I do a good job at my job, but shit happens, and you can't expect people to be perfect. Yeah. And that's an example that I would always use. Like, my team would come to me and be like, oh my God, Zoe, I like fucked up. I did this, and I'm like, don't worry about it. I've made mistakes like that too. We're not life or death. Like, we're not saving people's lives. It's gonna be okay, but make sure you do this, this, and this. And then shout out to Gorgeous part is, it's really hard to make that mistake now, because Gorgeous shows you the exact customer that you're on the same screen, and you don't have to toggle back and forth. You could just literally press refund right there, and then it makes, so it leaves less room for error. But yeah, it's so good to be in the weeds. And
and something with management too, and I guess when I say this, it would have to be a perfect situation where your manager is a reasonable person, because sometimes you just have a mean manager and that's just what you have. But the other day, for example, I had a situation where somebody was trying to be helpful, sent like this list of like deadlines for something, and was like, here's a little key that people can use for deadlines. And I reviewed it, and I noticed that the deadlines were all wrong, which is a big deal. But like, I was nice about it in my responses, because it was like, okay, you like, we're trying to be helpful and stuff, but we do need to get down to why these deadlines are wrong and like fix it so that we're not making mistakes anymore. And I found that the person I was managing was like ignoring me, like dodging that answer.
Oh, sure.
Like getting that to me. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm coming off in like a scary way, because sometimes it's scary when a manager is like, why have people been using these dates? This is like not good. And I realized, like, even though I thought I was being nice, I like looked at my responses and they did seem kind of quick and short. Like, they just were like, this is wrong. How long have we been using this? Who's using these deadlines? So then I like sent another message being like, okay, it's the end of the day, so we can connect back with this on Tuesday, because we were off Monday. Like, it's helpful that this deadline sheet was made, but we really do need to just make sure that the deadlines are right, so that like, and then I like made a joke like, so that no attorneys yell at you guys when you put the wrong deadlines down, because like none of us want that for each other. And then like, I found that like people responded and were like, have a good weekend, and like liked my message, and now we're like more responsive. So even like, though I think most of the time I'm like a good, reasonable manager and like come at people like in like a nice way, sometimes you like realize like, oh wait, like be a little softer. Because then I looked back and I was like, I guess I was being kind of short. I literally was like, these dates are wrong. Who's using them?
And I'm not perfect either, but I've realized too, and this is something I need to like consciously be, because when you've got a lot on your plate, it leaves less like thought, and
sometimes you just want a quick answer.
Or I really, really want to hone and like live by the publicly praise and privately critique, because I'll find myself, and I think I do this in the IA group chat sometimes and don't realize it, or like I'm just not perfect, but if something's like incorrect and like I take a screenshot and I just like send it into the group chat and I'm like, oh, this is wrong, like I don't mean to be like calling someone out in front of like everyone in a group chat, and we really shouldn't do that. But if you're moving so fast and you're like, oh, I was just looking over this, like this part's wrong. That stuff should be probably private. And like if you realize like you're not the hero, if you're like you find someone do a mistake and then you like out them in front of their bosses and stuff. If you could just like help everyone out and realize like everyone makes mistake. If there's a mistake that happened, maybe send it to someone like in private. You don't have to out them.
And something else I actually found while being a manager that took me a minute. So like obviously like I managed a department, but I still had a supervisor. And when I first was like really officially managing, I would always do this thing where, and it wasn't because I was trying to tattletale. It was kind of just because like I thought that I needed to do this. But I would see something wrong in the department, and I would immediately go to my supervisor and be like, so-and-so is doing this wrong, like just putting it on your radar. But then over time I realized like there's a reason why there's like tiers. Like they're having me manage the department so that I can like play damage control. Like I don't need to go to the supervisor for everything, and sometimes that makes things a bigger deal. And then I started to learn like sometimes you could just like let people like figure out their mistakes. Like the other day somebody came to me and was like, I noticed so-and-so keeps making this mistake, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell, and she was like, should we go to like my supervisor? And I was like, no, like we don't need to like have panic attacks over everything. I was like, I'll message him, tell him what he's doing wrong. I'll give him like 2 weeks I'll obviously have him immediately halt to doing it wrong. I'll give him like 2 weeks and see if I notice that he restructured it. I think it is checkout time.
Is it still recording?
Yeah.
That is so funny. Okay, so
my phone about to fall? I don't think I have it here, which is fine. I don't need it here.
The booklet for Airbnb said check out 11.
Yeah. And so that was when we were going by.
10 a.m.
Yeah. That sometimes like also you can like, I don't know, it's almost like you build like trust with the people you're managing. If you're like, hey, I'm not going to go to my supervisor right away. I trust you to like figure this out. And if you can like resolve it yourself, then that's something we can resolve within here. If you can't resolve it yourself, I'm going to have to go to my supervisor.
Yeah.
Like kind of almost being like, it's kind of that thing like parents have with their kids where they're like, I want to be their friend and their parent. But like you don't want to be their friend too much because then it blurs the line. So it's like not blurring that line, but also, I don't know, I think a part of being a manager is like you're also like the person that needs to have those people's back.
Yeah.
Like I always feel like I need to like go to bat for the people I'm managing.
No, because it is up to you. Even if someone makes a mistake, like you should always look inward of like, maybe I didn't train well enough on that.
Totally.
Because if that's your job to train those people, and if they're making mistakes, ultimately it's on you to do a couple different things. It's either to train better, or maybe that person isn't the right position, and that's your job to figure out. So,
which sucks because having to fire somebody is the absolute worst, but sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, because if everyone else is doing a good job with the same training, maybe that person isn't right. Or if everyone's messing this up, maybe there's a flaw in your training.
Yeah.
And if you're hearing slack from your supervisor about your team, you should always, as a manager, say, that's my fault. Let me go in and train better. Not saying, oh, well, I trained them on this and blah, blah, blah. They can't, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the manager's job. So that's like the best thing a manager can do is have your people's back and defend them, because either way, if you're not defending them, it still looks bad on you because that's your team.
Yeah.
And you should be proud of your team and you should set your team up for success. And if something goes wrong, that's your fault. That's you as a manager, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, I had a manager that was before me that he knew everything, but he wasn't a great manager. Like, he kind of didn't set people up for success. Like, he wouldn't, when somebody would make a mistake, instead of being like, let's hop on a training call, he would be like, I'll just fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was like, then he left, and people didn't know how to do like half their job, basically. And then I actually was left to like pick up the pieces. And he left 2 years ago, and we're still having random like meetings where I'm like, those people on that, so that like, I just said his name, I'll have to blurt that out. That's why that's another example of something that like he must have just like done himself when people made mistakes. And like, I think that he was a really nice guy, and I think he thought he was like doing the team a favor, being like, oh, just let me do it. But then when you leave, now all these people like don't have the skills they need, and now they're the ones getting yelled at when it keeps getting messed up.
Yeah.
And we're still picking up those pieces, and it's 2 years later.
That was like my last piece of this theme is actually delegation. Delegation as far as delegation and not doing things for people.
Yeah.
For example, I made a list and I was working top down. So like, I was like, okay, so we're making a big change on the team, but we need to make sure everyone's in the loop. And like, it's something where people have to go through a bunch of different like steps to be able to, like, each person on the team has to go through a bunch of different steps to be able to be properly trained on this. And so I went to the most high leader and I said, okay, I made this list, and you'll just have to go through and do your training, and then make sure your leaders have their team do theirs. Yeah. And we talked about it because it was a good learning experience, because I filled out the top leader's name and then just like his people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, have your people fill out their people. Yeah. Or, like, I just gave him that, like, and we talked about it afterwards, because his first instinct was like, let me fill out all of this for those people. Totally. And then we talked about it later. He was like, I should have let those leaders do their part so that they're, yeah. But because sometimes you're like, it would just so quick if I just do it myself.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll be like, because when you're like managing, like I would always find this, like when you're managing people, like I would have somebody come to me like in another department and be like, we're having your department like do this, delegate this task amongst your employees. And then I would feel bad because I would be like, well, everyone's pretty loaded with stuff. I don't want to like dump another thing on them. I'll just work overtime and do it myself.
Yeah, that's like a whole
But it's like you're also once again like doing your team a disservice, because like it's kind of like the whole thing. Sometimes I really do compare it to like parenting. Not that I know what parenting is like, but like it's sort of like you can't always like protect your kid. Like not that you should ever be like overworked, but like it's okay if maybe I have to give my team something and this week of work is a little bit harder than next week's. Like you can have a hard week of work and like the next week can be a little lighter. And when I say hard, I just mean like you're truly filled from 9 to 5, because there's some jobs, like a day is a little bit of an easier day, and like you might have more gaps in your day. Like it's okay to be like, I'm gonna give you an extra task this week, and how about you figure out how to delegate your time, so that you get it all done. Like I don't need to work overtime so that like people on my team like have less work.
Yeah, I've seen that in myself a lot too. But it's the other thing is understanding what's on people's plates, like you were saying, is like and understanding like how long things should take, because
that's been a huge thing.
Yeah, how long things should take, and then also if it's a task that you can teach, or actually it's more like a repetitive task, if you can write it down and like go through those steps of like exactly how to do it, like then that's when you should like hand it off to someone who does have time to do it, or if someone you want to like teach to be in that leadership position, because you as a manager you shouldn't have to do all of those like repetitive tasks, so that you can focus on managing and improving your team and improving the business you're working on and all of that. And a lot of times, and this is something we're like working through with the agency a lot too, is like a lot of times it takes like higher level thinking to figure out how to do something, but then once you figure it out and you can like create an SOP for it, like create that SOP and train someone else to do it very efficiently, and then move on to like improving something else. And that's like how businesses get better.
Yeah. Sometimes like something that I would always do when managing my team was, so like you train them on something, right? And then when you train somebody on something, they usually put their own spin on it. Like as time goes on, like, you know, you've been trained on something and then you like do it your way. You might find a quicker way to do it, whatever. And I would always like to check back in, and I would do these things where like I would literally like set up a time to meet with somebody for 15 minutes, and I would be like just literally screen share and like run through you doing that. And it would just be like a way to check back in, because sometimes people like create things because they want to be more efficient, but then they create a new way to do it and they're missing a step. Or they might, when you trained them, they might have like missed something that you said that could make that task be a lot quicker. And then they can be too scared to ask you what that was. And then you might see them doing it and find out that's why it's taking you 20 minutes to do that when it should take you 5. It's because you're missing this one step, and if you had just like spoken up, obviously you say it in a way nicer way, but like, you know, make them feel comfortable that they like can come to you. Or I'd always tell people like, if you ever like something I would like bring up in training, I'd always be like, and by the way, if you're ever doing a task and you even like a smidge think like, I feel like this might be taking too long or something, like all you have to do is message me and be like, I'm doing blank, I feel like it's taking too long, like can we hop on a call so you can just like see. And sometimes I'd hop on a call and they'd be doing it the right way, and I'd be like, yeah, it's just a tedious task. Or sometimes I'd hop on a call and be like, oh my god, yeah, you could like do this in half the time if you're just doing this.
Do you ever see, because I think this actually happens to me, I think I see like both of those, but sometimes I go and I am observing someone working and I'm like, holy shit, you're doing it so much faster than how I showed you. Let's recreate this whole thing. I just did those meetings with the team like a few weeks ago, and I don't know if you like heard me on the call, but the way that this one person on the team was like downloading these documents, I have been using this website for 6 to 7 years. Never knew about this one way you could like retrieve these documents that made the like time cut in half. And he's only been with us for not even a year. I was literally like, I couldn't get enough praising him. I was like, this is insane. You need to send an email to the team right now outlining these steps. Like, you're gonna save people so much time. Like, and I was like, just put into perspective, I've been staring at this same website for 7 years of my life, and this never occurred to me. Like, you're a genius. That's why I like to, I always say I love having blind eyes on things, and I love training people because people will ask questions because you're so used to just going through the processes and like doing how you've done it. So sometimes you don't think about like, you're not thinking about how the best way to do it, you're just doing it. And so I love training people and being like, please ask questions while you're in your training, because we're not married to the way we do things. As long as it's done right and like the customer or the client or the whatever is happy, like we want to be able to do it the most efficient way. So please ask us questions, because having a blind eye is so valuable to just be like, I never saw it that way.
And sometimes you don't realize that you have yourself pigeonholed until like somebody is like, you know, you could just do it this way. Wait, what was the thing the other Zoe had sent out Zoe's news. You should subscribe. Zoe's newsletter goes out on Thursdays, and there was like something that we had like talked about after the newsletter went out, and she's like, damn, too bad the newsletter already went out, I would add that. And I texted and I go, wait, can't we just like send an unexpected newsletter? So it was like, oh my god, we can.
In my head I'm like,
but that's like such an example of like, you just are so used to doing things a certain way, and then somebody else is like, can't you just send out another one? So he's like, wait, literally we can.
And I would have never, because in my head I'm like, okay, Thursdays are newsletters, like everything that we need to say for the week needs to be in this, we need to be prepared for it and whatever. And it was like, we were like, well, tomorrow's Tuesday, the event's not till Wednesday. Why don't we just send out a newsletter? I'm like, you're a genius. Like, and it's so simple, but that stuff happens all the time. All the time.
Yeah, and I do that all the time where, like, people will be like, you know, you could just, like, do this. And I'm like, you're so correct.
You're so right. And it also takes a level of vulnerability, because I could have been like...
You could have been like, no, I want them only on Thursdays. So, like, No.
I don't have a good reason, but yeah, only
Yeah.
Thursdays. And like, how dare you even suggest that?
And honestly, before when I was like new to like the working world, I feel like I would be like that because I would be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's definitely times before where I've been like, that's a good idea, but I'm gonna pretend like we can't do that because I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of it. Whereas now, like, whenever people critique me at work, I'm literally always like, especially IA because we're all, it's like such a comfortable environment, which is like such a good thing. Like I feel like Sierra is always like correcting like my misspelling, and like years ago, or probably still if it happened like at the law firm, I'd probably be butthurt. But when it happens now, I'm just like, you're so right, I spelled that so wrong. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, because people make mistakes, and
Yeah.
also I think I don't think it's the environment, like people are less professional, but it's just I think people are more open to people being human.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, it's a comfortable environment, but it's like a good thing that it is. It's not like an unprofessional, comfortable environment. It's like a comfortable environment in the way of like, we all understand we're not robots,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is nice because especially like, yeah, I mean, I guess I just have like a different experience because like working at a law firm, like you're working with people that went to law school. They have like Juris Doctorates, like they have like a chip on their shoulder sometimes, and I don't feel bad saying that because I think most people that work at law firms would admit that they do. I would admit that I do sometimes. So like, it's nice.
Oh.
Like,
Speaking of that, Jackie getting yelled at after she chugged the bottle. She
Oh
goes
my God.
to the she was
which by the way, I'm not an attorney. I still have to pass the bar.
the security was just trying to be like, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And Jackie was looking at it and she's like, I'm literally a lawyer. And
It's like, I'm literally a lawyer. Why is this illegal? I just wanted to know the reason. And once I took a step back, I understood. Like, they're trying to, like, limit alcohol intake. They want to know how much their customers are consuming. Like, it makes total legal sense because your customers are a liability to your
the
establishment.
security guards are like, we don't care that you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah. And also, like, it's just funny because I'm, like, technically not.
Yeah.
I have my law degree.
Yeah. You should have said, I have my law degree.
That's what I mean when I say I'm a lawyer. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, yeah. Oh my God, that was so funny though. But that's
So
like
funny.
a good
And he
example of
didn't
like
care. He
a
was
little
like,
bit of a
"Sweet."
chip on your shoulder.
Totally. No, I totally.
But you spend so much time and you
It's more the
deserve-
money. I'm like, I spent all this money to have a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah, I'm allowed to. But you passed law school and like that's like such a big accomplishment. So like, duh, why wouldn't you be in the club and say I'm a lawyer?
True. But some people have a chip on their shoulder and they use it as a reason to justify them being like mean to people in the
Yeah.
workplace, and that is never okay.
Never okay. But that was nice. It was nice to chat, and
Yeah.
I knew you'd have good perspectives because I hear Jackie like managing this team all the time too,
And sometimes I'm harsh. Like, not, like, it's not perfect. Because also sometimes your team, you'll give them all the tools and people on your team will still, like, not do it. And then it's really frustrating as a manager because then you're like, I gave you everything you need to be able to do this, and, like, you're still not doing it. And then that brings up the conversation of, like, that, and you have that hard thought to yourself of, like, maybe these people just aren't a good fit. Like, but it's just about, like, knowing how to communicate that with your team. Because sometimes you probably hear me on meetings where I sound really intense, but if I ever sound really intense, I'm probably not talking to the actual team. Probably talking to somebody about the team.
Yeah. Well, also it's such a slippery slope because you want people to take you seriously, but you want to make sure that like people know that it is a big deal to make like it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to like make mistakes over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And sometimes like mistakes have different variability. Like a little spelling mistake might not be that bad, but if someone misses a deadline for something that's like going to affect someone else's life or like
I was just
the
gonna
entire
say,
supply chain, then that's a really big deal.
that's why when I had this thing come up on Friday, I noticed I was talking back really short and quickly, but it was because I had mentioned they had the wrong deadline dates, and in like a law firm, that is probably like the most important thing we do that we have to do correctly, because if you miss a deadline for something, you have just committed malpractice technically, and now you lost your case, and that's a really big deal. It's like, it's horrible. So that's why when I saw those deadlines were wrong, I just was like, we need to know where these deadlines came from. I need to know who's been using these deadlines because I need to play damage control now. I need to make sure all the deadlines you've sent out to attorneys are redone. So it was more like I wasn't trying to come across like a bitch, but I was like, we need to like figure this out right away, so I need answers. But then you're scaring your team, and then you're making it worse because then you're not even resolving the issue because nobody will respond to you because they're scared of you.
Yeah, and also
it's so hard.
They're different examples, but it is kind of the same thing because if I don't know if there's like scientifically proven, but like it just like makes sense where if your team is in has better morale, they work more efficiently.
Totally.
So like anything you can do to protect the peace and like the happiness of your workers, the more productive they'll be, the better they'll do their job. And I noticed that a lot in my position. Like I can't be too hard or like I need to be a really good boss that people respect and want to do a good job for because it all trickles down to literally the customer.
Yeah.
And if it trickles down to like the leads of like the people answering the tickets being harsh with the customer support agents or customer service agents, customer experience agents, whatever you want to call them, if they're not in a good mood, they're not going to be talking to our customers in a good mood. And they're going to piss off the customers, and that's going to cause like, so it's just a mess that can just, so it all trickles down from higher leadership though, in my like opinion. That's the same thing of going back to like, you need to, if your team isn't in a good mood, like you need to do something to fix that.
Yeah. I was telling Zoe this, I said it like on a podcast that like customer like experience and stuff really is like the crux of like I think like returning customers, retention, Zoe's literal like expertise, because like I have stopped shopping places if I have a bad experience with like a customer support agent, or I have maybe become like a loyal shopper of a place that I wasn't always going to first because of a good experience. For example, the other day I had a really good experience messaging Uber support, and I'm a Lyft driver through and through. I'm also a DoorDasher. And last night, I didn't end up ordering because then we went to dinner, but I was trying to decide if I was going to order food on DoorDash or Uber Eats. And I was looking at Uber Eats because I was like, wait, I just had that really pleasant experience with Uber support on Friday. Or Thursday. I'm going to look at Uber Eats.
Yeah. And people do that subconsciously too. And when you have a bad experience, you tell your friends about it. You're frustrated.
And when you have a good experience, and I know not always, that's kind of the problem with good experiences. Sometimes you're not like really always like talking about them, but when you have exceptional experience, you do. The minute I had such a good experience with Uber Eats Uber Eats on Thursday, I messaged our group chat.
She took a screenshot and sent it to our group chat.
Yeah, because it was, the Uber Eats guy didn't know this, but it was a really stressful situation for me because basically, to make this really quick, I had an Uber One subscription that I actually didn't need or want because I don't order enough to justify it. But I had it free for like a few months, and I didn't realize that it expired and I was charged for it. But why I was actually freaking out about it wasn't so much the charge itself, it was that I thought somebody hacked my card. And so like I was trying to get down to the bottom of it because I didn't get like an email or anything, and I let Uber know that actually. I didn't get an email or anything saying like confirming the charge or whatever renewed. I just got like charged it, and I was looking at the Uber app and I was like, where could this be from? I found it. Then I messaged Uber and was like, I'm really sorry. I know I didn't cancel it in time, but I actually don't want this subscription at all. And it was a $90, like I got charged $48, but I was gonna get charged $48 again the next day. So that's like how they do it. So I was about to pay like $100 for something I wasn't gonna use. So I just like messaged Uber and like said that and was polite. And he resolved it for me. I got the refund right away. He was like, you won't be charged the second half of it tomorrow. Like, we're so sorry that you didn't receive like confirmation that you were being charged for this or whatever. It was like such a pleasant experience.
It also poses the fact of like, if someone's reaching out to you, because as like a support agent, service agent, or even just like a manager, I've seen people commonly be like, what is this lady freaking out about? It's $50.
Yeah.
You never know what's going on in someone's life. Like $50, like you have no idea if they need that $50 to feed their kids or
totally,
like,
or
pay their rent or whatever.
Yeah.
Like so you can't ever, even if it's $2, like you can't just like, you can't assume that. That's so funny. You can't assume that it's just like, oh, it's just $50, it's just $2. Like,
Totally.
why are they freaking out? I see this right now too when people, because now people are more privy or they're more skeptical to scams and stuff, and they're like, you thought you were being hacked.
I thought I was hacked.
It's a serious thing. Like, people, it's happening over and over again where people are getting it taken advantage of. So you never know, like, what scam is around the corner. And so, like, that's such a scary, vulnerable place for someone to be, because you're like, okay, if I'm hacked, then, like, I need to go change all my cards and everything. And, like, it's a scary, like, place to be. So if someone could just provide a good solution and a solution for you and quickly without needing a reason or fighting you on it, then it's just such a good experience.
That's why it was so nice when he gave me a refund, because once I realized that, like, I actually knew where the charge came from, I was already like, so, I mean, of course, like, who wants to spend $100 that they don't need to spend? But my main concern was, I was like, fuck, I'm on my way to vacation and I'm not going to have a working card, and I'm going to be stressed that, like, my stuff's hacked. So once I realized I wasn't hacked, I was kind of, like, calmed down, and then I was like, but I don't need to spend $100, so let me just, like, message support and see if I can get it refunded. But I totally knew it was my own fault. Like, if you do a free subscription to something, you should know when it ends so you can cancel it. Like, so I was like, I'll just message and see if I can get it refunded, but I'm already calmed down. Like, I messaged you guys, like, everything's fine. I wasn't hacked. I'm going to see if I can get a refund, though. And so, like, I messaged them, just being nice, told them, like, what happened. And was like, is there any way I can get refunded? And so, like, but I didn't tell him that I was already calmed down because I was scared I was hacked. So it was just, like, nice that, like, even just thinking that, like, I just was, like, this person who didn't cancel it on time and just wanted to see if they can get a refund. Like, that he was, like, so willing to refund me. I don't know, it just was, like, so nice. And I kind of wasn't expecting it because I don't know why, if I've had a bad experience with Uber customer support, like, why I
think
thought
you
this.
did.
Did I?
There was one time where your food didn't get delivered. I don't know.
Yeah.
Her food didn't get delivered, and, like, there was proof of it in the app saying, like, that they canceled it, but then they wouldn't refund her, but, like, it didn't get delivered, and they canceled it on the app.
Yeah, and it was, like, a $70 Taco Bell delivery. Yeah. Because I remember when I was messaging Uber on Thursday, I was like, they're not going to refund me this, especially since it's my fault. Like, they're not going to.
And then going back to I think we had a whole episode. This was, we talked about this with Rick Denton when we had the takeover, about being a profitable rule breaker. The agents need to be able to have that, like, level of critical thinking of, is this breaking this policy of, like, oh, they ended their free trial, they knew they were, is breaking this policy of refunding them going to be able to allow them to be happy and come back and shop, or is it going to lose us money and lose us, like, affect our business?
Totally. Because Uber lost I'm not paying for an Uber One subscription, but the next time I need to order delivered food, I'm going to use Uber Eats.
And maybe...
So they're still making money.
And maybe one day when you use Uber Eats more and more, you might even sign back up for that Uber One.
Yeah,
so...
This was such a good convo. This
Such
was a good episode, I feel like. Hopefully the outside noise wasn't too loud.
The last bit, this was a request from the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Is events coming up. So there is Grow LA in March, and I'm 90% going to be there. I believe it's March 8th or 9th. We'll make sure that we put the actual dates in the show notes. Grow LA, so that's in Los Angeles in March. And then I haven't decided yet, but I know that a lot of people are going to Shop Talk. I'm trying to figure out if it makes, like...
Where's Shop Talk? Is that LA?
Vegas. Las Vegas. I went last year. It was a really, really great event. I would definitely highly recommend going. And hopefully I could be there, but it might be too much with, like, the move and stuff. And then Gorgeous has a couple events coming up that are either virtual or in person I believe starting in April, so we'll put those in the show notes too. But I would love to know what events you guys are going to, and also we do put in the newsletter if there are events coming up so that you can, like, kind of see if they're in your area. And also in our CX Discord, there's other people posting events too. So if you want to link to the CX Discord, do we put that in the show notes?
Hell yeah, we do.
If it ever doesn't work too, because the Discord ones, sometimes will expire because it's more of like an exclusive group. So if it ever doesn't work and you're looking at like an old episode, let me know and we can send you a new link. Sometimes they expire after 7 days.
Okay.
So that's a really great group to see, like not only events that like I'm talking about, but a lot of like customer experience retention people are going to as well. So
Cool.
we'll send you that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe,
All the things.
rate this wherever you're listening to.
Yeah.
Let us know. And obviously, this is such a good example. We take everyone's feedback and think about it of how we structure our episodes and post online and stuff. So let us know any feedback you have. We're happy to.
Or if you have like a podcast like theme you want us to like follow for an episode of like things to like touch on, leave that below. I keep swinging this thing. Peace out.
I think one is confetti.
Oh.
Oh man. Oh, there. Whoa. That was crazy.
Fun. Okay. Bye guys.
Bye guys. Love you.